Okay, welcome World of Blazers. Today I have Bruce Magee, host of the Weathered View, Weather Report. Weather View, by the way, greatest morning show on X. Period.
Thank you very much.
If you haven't tuned in and watched it, you have to definitely get involved. It's very cool.
Yeah.
And I might be off on this, but because you're in California, I'm in California, we're roughly around the same geographical location. Kind of gives me the old Lamont and Tonelli vibes, to be honest.
Yes. I love
you know what I'm talking
Lamont
about. Yeah, it gives me that a bit, which is great.
You're aging me. You're aging me already.
Well, kind of me too, I guess. I might be I don't know if I'm a little behind, probably, but regardless, I listen to it as well. They're very prominent out there in the Bay Area. So, yeah, I get those vibes. It's really cool, except without all the censorship. So there are there's some choice words here and there, especially from our acquaintance Aaron.
Yes,
when he goes on his rants, which is great. It's funny. So let's just dive into it, man. There's been some stuff going on, but I want to get some background on you. What prompted you? First, let's say, what prompted you to get into podcasting? Because it seemed like everybody kind of did this around COVID when they were starting to pay attention to what was going on. Decisions being made by the government, California government for us, but also federally, and people were starting to realize, like, hold on, I haven't been paying attention because I don't want to be bothered with politics, but now it's kind of hit me in the face. Was that your story, or were you into this before that?
Oh, no, I was in this before that. 2012, when I moved to Gilroy, California, because that's where I'm from. I was a voracious speaker, or just, I wanted to talk all the time. I mean, I love talking to people. I'm not a social butterfly. When I go into the room, I'm not, plastered up against the wall looking at everybody. I'm like, hey, how's it going? My name is, Bruce.
Right.
Here I go. I started out in the ministry at a church that I was attending back in the day, and I became a junior high school minister. So being able to talk was one of my things that I was able to do, and when I kind of got into the sphere of podcasting, it was only because of the fact that I was getting involved in politics. I was really dissatisfied with what was going on. And that was back in 2012. I've already went through the 2008 debacle with the financial meltdown and stuff like that. But I really started getting involved when I started hanging around with the liberal crowd here in Gilroy.
Which is unavoidable.
Which is unavoidable.
if people don't know the area.
But I decided, all podcasting came around. I started listening to different podcasts. I think the first one that I listened to was the Jason Stapleton podcast as I was commuting, because it was my first time I ever had to commute from one spot to another, which was a 45-minute commute. I had a lot of time on my hands. I was bored of radio. Lamont and Tonelli was on. That was fine. That was great, but I was kind of beyond the music thing and beyond the Lamont and Tonelli thing. So I started listening to a guy named Jason Stapleton, libertarian. And I was kind of at that point in my political verse, I was going like, oh, that sounds cool. I think I'm a libertarian, So,
right.
So I decided to partner up with my old co-host, which his name was Doug, and we did this out of the same garage that I'm in now, different setup. But we started podcasting then, and we started podcasting kind of like a Hannity and Combs type thing, where I was the independent kind of conservative guy. Doug was the liberal type guy and we kind of argued back and forth. Had great banter. The show went on for 100 episodes, and then we just kind of faded away because number one, just we started drifting apart. It was one of those things where you don't want to clash so much that you lose your friendship, and things were getting kind of heated in the political realm. So we kind of decided to
around what year was that?
That would have to be probably 2016 to
I was just going to say that.
Trump, right around the Trump era.
That's usually when most people's relationships started to disintegrate. When it came to politics,
it started to strain a little bit, and we decided that our friendship was better than that, and so we decided to stop that. So
that's a smart move. So you're still in touch then?
Yeah, we're still in touch. Okay. Yeah, we still talk. And then at the same time, I got into a direct marketing business that I still have today, and I started doing a live stream on Facebook, which was called The Morning Drive. The same kind of like the morning view, but it was just me. And I was
Right.
carrying the podcast all the way through, which I don't do anymore because I'm a terrible single
It's hard.
podcaster. It is.
It's hard.
It's tough.
Yeah.
You make it very easy. You
Uh,
sound very easy to do that, but
I have a method of how I do it, but yeah, it's not as easy as it seems, man.
yeah. But it's kind of evolved from there. So I've had several different podcasts underneath my belt, and just going through this. These are the two most successful ones that I've had. We're going forward with it. I've actually spent a lot of time in the last couple of weeks, kind of getting the three businesses that I have, other than my 9 to 5, together to make a really kind of a full court assault on getting my entrepreneurial aspects going.
Mm. So you're trying to push and expand into the podcasting arena more, or just all encompassing, like
I
independent
still want to
media?
be independent. I don't want to be a big fish. I don't want to be the big fish.
You
I'd
don't want to be
I'd
beholden
rather
to
be a
anybody.
popular fish in the big ocean.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense to me. As you grow, and we've seen this with many other people in this space, is they get the deal, they get everything that they want, and then they're no longer themselves because now your sponsors and whoever's paying your check is telling you exactly what you're supposed to say, and that's not the road I'm going down either.
Yeah.
To be honest, so that's great background there. But let me see. So when it comes to politics, I'm gonna ask you this. You're conservative.
Yep.
All right. Here's the start of our conversation when we start getting to politics now, because I've seen a change, and even with my audience, as I'm sure you know, because I've expressed it before, it fluctuates. And I think people have a perception of who you're supposed to be versus what you really are. So let's talk about MAGA and what you think MAGA is, and how they've been treating everybody who's a conservative. It's like all of a sudden, if you have an opposite opinion, you're a traitor, and they just they abandon you, and it kind of calls into question whether or not they were your people in the first place. Because right now, in my opinion, they seem to be very narrow and close-minded on a lot of issues. But I still agree with the fundamental foundation of making America great again, and we're going to get there. It's gotten better. But what is your opinion on the MAGA crowd at this moment? And I hope I'm not offending anybody by saying this, but it's a valid question.
Yeah, it's the same thing I think about the far left in the same token, because
Yes.
there's these fringes that are outside of everything that I think that normal people think about. And I've kind of broad brushed a lot of my liberal friends that I have here in the South Valley here where I live. And I apologize for, first of all, if anybody's watching this, I apologize for a lot of that. But it's hard not to broad brush when I just believe that silence says a lot, especially when people are vocal on social media on one thing and not as vocal as something that they either agree with or disagree with you about on another level. That being said, is that during this No Kings thing, let's just take the Kings thing, because that's
It just
current
happened.
and front.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that went to No Kings. I look at them and I'm going like, I'm just shaking my head. But it's not a MAGA thing that I'm shaking my head about. It's the fact that these were the same people that were silent during the era of which they had power, the Biden era, the Obama
Absolutely.
era.
Yeah.
They were just silent about it, but once, Trump got into office, or any Republican for that matter, or conservative gets into office, all of a sudden everything's evil, everything's this and everything's that. It bugs me. It really bugs me. And to see the silence of some of the people that I know that are most vocal on my social media and my social circle that I have, it leaves a sour taste in my mouth. And it's one of those things where you have to make decisions, and sometimes you have to make hard decisions to what your circle of friends are. I mean, really. I mean, I don't want to be into a crowd of people and then think that people are rolling their eyes and giggling behind my back. I mean, I know a lot of people do.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Humans
But it's a hard
humans.
thing to do especially when you're in a family situation. My friends, my personal friends, share friendships with my wife and stuff like that, and I don't want that to bleed over to her. And a lot of times, they go like, guilty by association. If he's like that, then she's like that, and it's just it makes stress all the way around. And
Right.
yeah, that's what I got to say about that. But as far as MAGA is concerned, um, I don't identify with MAGA. I'm an American first type guy. I want our country to be prosperous. I want our country to be strong. I want a lot of things that MAGA wants, but I'm not going to go off the deep end and be a fundamentalist about the way my conservative views are.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's the way, well, that's how I see it. I'm gonna be honest. I've made that very clear. So with that being said, though, Bruce, there is a splintering in the conservative party,
Mhm.
especially as of late. And we have MAGA, we have the neocons never really went away. Um, they're still there, and then we have people that are becoming like the Thomas Massey crowd, for example.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily a movement but they're starting to shift over and like, wait a minute, you can't talk bad about Rand Paul or Thomas Massey or anybody else. And now we have, followers going and saying, I'm part of this group, this group. Like, I think there's like 3 or 4 different factions right now within the Conservative Party itself. And then when you're trying to call for unity, people get offended by that. Well, I can't side with you because you're pro-Israel or you're not pro-Israel, or it always comes down to freaking foreign relations, which is ridiculous. We just can't talk about America itself and what we need. But it's so splintered. Is this a sign of us losing or conservatives losing control here really soon in the midterms and moving forward?
I don't think so. I've thought about this a lot with the midterms, and I, I think President Trump, and I said this during his first administration. The guy tweets like a heartbroken 14-year-old. I mean,
Yeah,
he has,
he can't
and
help himself.
he can't help himself. And when he started his second term, he was really in kind of in the background of Twitter and all that. And then all of a sudden, he started doing it all over again. And the policies that he set forth, I agree with. I mean, to pretty much so. But some of the promises that he made, that he's broken as far as the immigration stuff, the deportation stuff. I don't agree with that stuff. A lot of it, I agree that we should go after the worst people that crossed our border. But somebody who's been here 20, 30, 40 years, been paying into the system, has a business and things like that, because they had a traffic ticket, all of a sudden they're getting, called
Right.
away in immigration court and stuff like that. I don't agree with that. I didn't vote for that. But that being said, we have to do something about our immigration system. They've been talking for decades. I mean, I'm 65 years old. I mean, these things have been talked about since I was a kid, and we still haven't done anything about immigration. And they say, well, we're working on comprehensive immigration. Well, comprehensive means we're never going to do anything about it. That's kind
Yeah.
of the way that I've been following everything. Uh, but yeah, I mean, to get back online with your question, it is just like it's a weird situation with politics and how we differ between Democrat and Republican. My old co-host Doug, which I'll refer back to the old Weather Soul podcast, which was the podcast me and him had. There was once a time where Democrats and Republicans were pretty closely knit. I mean, we can, we had our differences, but
Well,
they can reach behind the aisle and make deals. And right now, the rift is so far, and it's because of those splinters. It's because of MAGA. It's because of the far left progressives, the communist movement, the socialists, the democratic socialist movement, whatever you want to call it. I think that we're so far off of the mark now. I don't know if there's any repairing it.
yeah, I think, especially, well, as far as I can recall anyway, like in the '90s, it was a lot, not as a contentious, like not so contended or contentious, the
Yeah.
relationship. And what I find, like, I'm Gen X, so the deal is like, and Aaron and other people,
Mhm.
and a lot of people who watch this won't know who we're talking about, but Aaron, I had to say it podcasts, go check him out. It's worth your time, man. His rants are just gold. But the thing is like a lot of us from that generation are actually just really old school Democrats. I mean, that's how we were raised. We aligned a lot with how that party then viewed things and what they looked after and stood up for. And we realized that, like, is the conservative party really that far right, or is it really just aligning with fundamental values that people really are looking for our society to stay together, move together, and keep America together. Now, yes, there's a far right faction, absolutely, which is ridiculous. And you got it, like you said earlier, on both sides. You got far right, far left. I'm homeless, I think, at this point. I'm thinking, I could just say this. I know I'm conservative, but I'm not sure I align with a party anymore.
Right.
I just know that I'm not left. I'm not for anything, because I've always taken the view that, look, I think either side makes some decent points, but I'm not going to be all in on either side, because I can't, especially how I grew up. And you being in that Bay Area sphere, it's like it's too hard to just take a hard stance either way, because you see people living, you interact with people, and you get it. You're like, yeah, I get it. The way you live and what you're going through, I understand how this affects you. All right, everyone, it's time for me to tell you about Bare Knuckles gloves. That's bear like a grizzly bear, so spelled BEAR Knuckles. And here's what I like about Bare Knuckles gloves. Bare Knuckles gloves are durable, they're comfortable, they're made to protect your hands as they should, while also reducing hand fatigue. They have a patented double wedge design, which has a pre-curve. So what that means is it actually fits your hands naturally. They're the glove to go to for anybody who works with their hands for a living. I myself am blue collar. I know that everybody out there listening to this right now who works in construction, works in farming, gloves don't last. Most gloves aren't comfortable. They get the job done, but let's be honest, every big box retailer that you go to or big box hardware store, the gloves off the shelf, they're done within a week or two at the most. Bare Knuckles offers durability, offers comfort. They're among the best work gloves out there. And for listening to this show, and because I support blue collar all day because I am blue collar, they're going to offer you 15% off. All you have to do is use my code, WorldAblaze. That's it. You can go to buybareknuckles.com. And again, that's BEAR Knuckles, KNUCKLES.com. So go to buybareknuckles.com, enter my code at checkout, WorldAblaze, to get your 15% off. Or you can also go to my website, worldablazepodcast.com. Go to the sponsors tab. Right there in the sponsors tab, you will find the link for Bare Knuckles. Click on that, takes you right to the site. And again, put in my code, WorldAblaze, to get your 15% off. So I can come from that. Now, I'm going to circle back to the immigration thing, because I'm with you, but there's also the counter argument here. Okay. So the thing with it is it's not fair to the immigrants, as you said, who've been here for like 10, 20 years. Counter to that is this. While it's not anybody's fault, it's not their fault, and it's not my fault or your fault. Like, we'll get criticized for speaking on it, right, but it's not our fault that previous administrations didn't enforce the actual law that was already in place. So here we are at a tough spot, because it's like, well, now we're going to enforce it. And people are like, well, I've been here for 20 years. Why are you suddenly ripping me away from my family? Well, it's like if you rob a bank, the FBI is not going to stop looking for you. Right. Eventually it catches up. Now, I'm not saying that's right, Bruce, because I am agreeing with you, because I think we got to look at these people and say, well, 20 years, I get it. You can ask the question, why did you not go through the process in that 20 years, though? What stopped you? I have a friend personally, I just had lunch with him the other day, who is a younger guy. He started working with me when he was just out of high school, doing gigs and everything. And then he ended up going to college, got his computer science degree. I mean, the guy's doing it right. He just got his citizenship this year. He's been working on the system. He's already planning to bring his wife over. But because of the consulate in Mexico and how everything's going, where they're at, and they're so backed up, they're not even going to be able to get an appointment till August of next year. So, but they're waiting it out. They're doing it how they have to do it. So I think that we can't ignore the laws weren't enforced. And we could be hard and say, well, the law is the law. But with these people that have been here, I think what we need to do is say, well, you got one over on us, period. And it's our fault for not enforcing the law, but you don't have a criminal record. You've been contributing. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you this time frame to get it right. And after that, if they still haven't done it, then you know what? They got to enforce the law. That's the way I look at it. Right. But we do have to give them the opportunity, because it's not their fault the law wasn't enforced, but it's also, not our fault that they didn't take the steps and measures during that 2010,
Correct.
whatever, how many long they've been here to even try to become a citizen.
Yeah, correct.
So there's that other argument to it.
Yeah.
And we do have to be empathetic, but we can't be so much to where we're giving the country away either. So we do have to give those people options for sure. I agree with that.
Yeah. My take on it is that this is a media-driven, hyper, be scared, hair on fire type issue, at least with the mainstream media, because they're not doing the what do you want to call it, the check-in on what's going on with the headline news. Okay, you see the news in the Bay Area. Oh, they tackled a grandma and they got
Right.
the family guy from the courts as he was going in to check in his immigration status or going to immigration court. And these people are being ripped away from their families and blah blah blah. But they're not doing the follow-up reports on what really happened after the fact that happened. Now, I would hope to think that when ICE is taking these people into detention, that they're actually doing some kind of hearing or something to get them through and say, okay, well, you're a good guy. We're going to let you go. We're sorry we tackled you and, you made headline news and stuff like that. I'm hoping that that has happened, but there's no outlet for any of us to find out whether that has happened or not. You don't have the follow up from the mainstream media, because the mainstream media doesn't want you to know what's going on. KTVU, KNTV, all these Bay Area stations do not do any kind of follow-up stuff about what's going on with the immigration status here, or the immigration policies that are happening here, and the arrests and whether or not people are let go or deported or whatever. I haven't heard anything. So I have to take that news, and then I've got to dig. I've got to dig into X. I've got to dig into other sources, because I just don't take things by face value. So I kind of dig into it, and to find out that a lot of these people are returned to their families, and they go on and they have a immigration lawyer or status. This is going to cost them a lot of money, of course, because quote, they're not here legally. I think it's a shame. That being said, we have to fix the mainstream media, and unfortunately, the mainstream media is actually taking a backseat to places like X. And I think that's where we have to start getting even with X. With that said, a lot of hyperbole, a lot of AI, a lot of all this stuff, but that's at least a place to start to go do your sourcing. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah. So this isn't a me responding to you and disagreeing, by the way. It's more reinforcing what you said. But the thing is they don't want to give you the follow-up story, because they'd be damned if there was a win for the other side. That's really what it is. But I put the fault on the people themselves. I mean, the everyday person who doesn't want their routine bothered by actual, politics or going past the headlines. I've always said this. I say people live on the surface of information. They do not want to know more. They're just following their leaders. They're following their favorite podcasts, Pod Save America, screw those guys, whatever. It's my opinion. But there's things like that going on where people they want to live in the bubble. It makes them feel good, and they don't want to be challenged. And as I said before, when it comes to these issues, like this is more current event issues. We can call it political, but it's because it has become political, but it was really just reinforcing laws that were being ignored. So it wasn't like this was something new, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I agree that there isn't a follow-up, because they don't want to show the wins. They want to keep people separated. They want people to not know the truth, so that they're just continually in conflict with each other. And this is all very well planned. I mean, I can get conspiratorial and say, well, they're trying to push us to fight with each other. Sure, let's have a civil war. Let's keep everybody busy while we secretly go behind and start, instilling the policies that the World Economic Forum has been trying to push for all these years. Maybe. But that's, those are conspiracies. Possibly, maybe, allegedly. We can go down the road later. But as far as this immigration thing, like my dad's an immigrant. You know what I'm saying? I get it. I have friends that are immigrants. I grew up around nothing but people from Mexico. I understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Same here.
it doesn't mean that we can't enforce policy. And the reporting that is ignored to the follow-up is an issue. It really is. So it seems like we're looking at this from a common sense perspective, or what used to be common sense. I'm not sure how common sense is anymore. But let's touch on what you brought up earlier. What's your take on this No Kings protests? Because I thought, I mean, we haven't had a king, 1776. I think, it's when we acknowledged that we would never have a king, right? I I'm not really sure where they're coming from. I mean, because they don't like policies that are put in place that they disagree with, that we suddenly have Donald Trump acting as a king.
Yeah.
I,
I would have more respect for the people that went to the went to the protest if they would just call it "I hate Donald Trump" protest.
that's it. That's really
That's
what it
it.
is.
I mean, everything is face value. I mean, if you take no kings at face value, that's what you're looking at, right? Okay, so the protest isn't about no kings. We don't have a king. We have Burger King. We have,
Right.
we have the King of Rock. And
Yeah.
it's silly. And like I said, I would have more respect for them if they said, this is an "I hate Donald Trump" protest. Great, fantastic.
That's
Can get
you're
behind that. you know,
you're spot on,
yeah,
Bruce,
you're
honestly.
spot on, And it's just weird. I crunched some numbers yesterday, and actually, my numbers were kind of high because I went through this. I use Grok and I use AI. I use ChatGTP, and basically, Grok was pretty straightforward with it. I love ChatGTP. It does a lot of good things for me. But now that we have AI, it's just another thing to argue with. So now I'm arguing with the computer. All right, I'm arguing with
Right?
artificial intelligence. I finally got it to say what I wanted it to say. But you can get anybody to say what you want to say, right?
Pretty much.
But the fact of the matter is that you had 7 million people yesterday that attended these rallies, and the media is out there going like, "Oh, this is the biggest freaking protest, American protest that ever happened." Fine, that's great. My co-host now for the Weather Report, Ken, would agree. He says that stuff moves the needle. The essence of what was happening in the protest yesterday is that the Democrats are on their back heels right now. They need to get voters out. They need at least 1 million new voters on the rolls to at least kind of do some kind of swinging to change the midterm elections. That's a tall order right now to get, especially in the volatile environment that we have in the political spectrum. Yesterday, like I said, they had 7 million people. 1.9 people or 1.9 million people were at college football games yesterday. Another 45 million people were watching from their homes or whatever platforms it is for for college football. Whatever everybody else was doing beyond that 7 million people, which is 155 million people who voted in the 2024 election, that 7 million people is a small number. In fact, it's about 6% of the people that voted.
That voted. And
That
and and let's look at this number. So 330 million people population, and let's take voters out of it. And I don't know what the actual number of people who are eligible to vote in terms of age and whatnot,
right.
but if you just take it by population, that's just barely over a little over 2%.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm
That's
looking, and numbers mean
nothing.
something. And numbers
Yeah.
mean something. It really does. And I think that in my estimation, it was a huge protest. Good. It was a huge protest. A failure by all means, I think. I really do. I don't it might have moved the needle, or it might have made everybody in the progressives and the disgruntled Republicans, it might have made them feel good that they ran around with signs and everything and they were circle jerking whatever they wanted to do.
Right.
But to me, it was a huge failure as far as a political movement. I mean, it didn't move me.
No, it didn't. And just like the last protest that they did, this No Kings, it's like they have to keep doing it because it's apparently not effective. I don't think. And if you got less than two or roughly around 2% or so of the population of the United States of America actually participating, and then also let's look at the generation of people that are participating. From what I see in videos, it's not younger people. It really isn't. You know, yeah, but okay. So your generation, let's just say, Bruce. But regardless, that in and of itself speaks volumes because it's telling you that the future, the people who are going to drive the future of this country are not bought in.
No.
It's a
No.
Saturday. You can't say that they're all working and stressed out. A lot of people have days off on Saturday. What was their excuse for not showing up and supporting if this No Kings movement is exactly what represents how people feel in America, because it fucking doesn't. It just
Yeah,
doesn't. You
absolutely,
know, it's
absolutely.
just a bunch of whining cunts, man, just going out there trying to get attention. That's all it is. That's all it is.
Exactly, and the culture shift also takes a lot into consideration when they're doing that. So you had you had the old people like us, the old hippies, even my parents, the older people than that. Those are the ones that were out there. Probably a lot of boomers were out there, of course, because there's other people my age, like I said, that I know that went to the rallies yesterday. And then you got the fringe Democrats that were out there. I don't think that there was a lot of what do I want to say? The people with the bullnose rings, people
Oh, yeah,
with
yeah, yeah,
their,
yeah.
all that. They're out there screaming and hollering.
Yeah,
And
a
then you
certain
get the
kind of
reporters
peace.
out there that
Yeah.
are kind of cherry picking who they're interviewing and going like, "Oh, these people are dumb. They don't even know what the hell they're freaking here for," and stuff like that. I think the movement had an issue with just the general face value of what it was. Like you said, a bunch of crybabies. I really think that it was a crybaby thing. We didn't win. Our king isn't in power, and your king is, and we're going to do everything that we can to get your king out of power so our king can rule. But still, in that fact, there's no king. He was
Yeah, but
elected.
and I agree. I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, if he was a king, why can we still not get his nominees to be approved and move forward? Like, there's still hangups on that. He
Yeah.
could just say, "I don't care. These guys are in. That's it." Why is there certain legislation that he approves, or even through executive orders that people push back on or goes to the courts? If he was king, we wouldn't have that. If people would just shut the hell up and just say, "All right, well, that's what he said. We've
Yeah.
got to go with it."
Yeah.
So there's obviously he's obviously not a king. They just don't like that he's upsetting the norm, right, and pushing back against the system. Whether you agree with him or not doesn't matter, but he's just stirring things up. The thing that you said earlier is very true, though. Regardless of the cherry picking of who they interview, these people, most of these people that get behind these movements, don't even know why they're there. The fundamental reason that this No Kings thing is even going on is exactly what you said. They just hate Donald Trump. Great. Allow me to introduce you to More Labs. More Labs makes premium, super effective recovery drinks. They work so good, you're never going to reach for your favorite sports drink again. I'm going to paint the picture here. Look, you went to a party, wedding, anniversary, birthday, but here's the deal. This is what usually happens. This is where I've been. I know a lot of us have been there. You had a bad day at work. It's a Tuesday. You go out, you throw a few back, but you had way too many. You got to go to work the next morning. You just can't call in sick. You got a super important meeting. You can't miss it. You can't reschedule it. Well, this is where More Labs Morning Recovery comes in. Now, Morning Recovery is a fast-acting recovery drink designed to help wake you up feeling clear-headed and refreshed. It works by supporting liver function, breaking down toxins faster, and replenishing lost nutrients so you can bounce back quickly and feel your best. Now, More Labs doesn't just offer morning recovery. Like, let's just say you need mental focus. They have a drink for that. What if you need good sleep? They have a great drink for that as well. Give More Labs a chance. You're not going to ever turn back. Listen, go to morelabs.com, MORE labs.com. Use my code, World Ablaze. You will get 25% off. And if you can't find the website for whatever reason, go to worldablaze.podcast.com. Go to my sponsors tab. In the sponsors tab, you will find the link to More Labs. Click that link, use my code, World Ablaze. And again, they're going to give you 25% off just for being a listener and supporting the show. And just for supporting More Labs, you're also going to be supporting me. So go to morelabs.com, order some More Labs, get yourself some morning recovery, get 25% off using my code World Ablaze. Okay, so I just had a recorded an episode yesterday or before we did ours, so the day before, with Phil Moriello, and
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
the host of California Underground.
Yeah.
And so we talked Prop 50. And when we're talking about Prop 50, and you're in California, so, very relevant to you. We discussed the reasoning behind it, what the intent is, the truth, and the consequences. And one of the things that stood out is what he experienced and what I experienced, which is relating to what you just said. By the, I'm getting there. So, what it is people don't know why they even support Prop 50. I've had this conversation with friends the other night, and they're bringing it up because they've discovered my podcast. So now it's like, and I appreciate it. I do that. I get the support from them. But what happens is I start asking the question. Okay, great. Let's get down to the root of it. Why do you support it? They don't even really know. They just know, well, Texas did this and Republicans and, that's not right. And so, okay. But, the thing with Texas is that was actually a court order mandate that was actually put off for years that they're being forced to do regardless, because when they tried to do it earlier, the courts found it, I think it was 2000, I might be off, 3, one somewhere in there. Anyway, when they tried to do it a long time ago, or 13, I can't recall, Bruce. But anyway, people, you can look it up. When they tried to do it before, the courts found that it was illegal. It wasn't right. Like, hold on, what are you guys trying to do? So they got involved, and they're like, no, you have to readjust all this. So here we are, and this is what Texas is going through. And then you got Gavin Newsom, who's nothing more than, he's just a little dictator himself. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's a fucktard, dude, really. So the thing with Newsom is he hates Trump too. That's all it is. He's running for president and without even saying it or acknowledge. He's been doing it for years. And this whole thing, as you know, is nothing more than an attempt to keep Democrats in power.
Absolutely.
We have one. I don't know if we have the most delegates. You may correct me on that. Do we have the most delegates?
I'm not sure if we have the most delegates. I know that we have a huge amount of delegates.
We have a lot. We have a lot. I should know that. I should know that. I don't know why I don't.
As long as our population dictates that we have a lot of delegates.
Yeah, but anyway, we're the state that matters when it comes to voting for the president. Period. And we do sway the vote quite a bit due to the amount of delegates we have. So this whole thing with Prop 50 is doing nothing more to ensure that the future of the presidency is tilted much more in the favor of the Democrat Party. And so people are saying, well, I oppose Prop 50 because I oppose what Donald Trump's administration is doing. Well, it's not Donald Trump that is telling everybody to redistrict. We redistrict every 10 years unless there's a special circumstance, right? So the thing with this, what's going on with California and them trying to do this is just trying to ensure that they remain in control or that they can grab control in the presidency. But what people don't understand is if you hate Donald Trump, and you think this is a good reason to do this, you're also ignoring the future of California, though. They're not looking at it from that view because as we move forward, look, conservatives are already underrepresented in California as it is. And the argument from the California government, more from Newsom and his cronies, is, well, it's going to go back in 2030. Okay, so from 26 on to 2030, it's supposed to go back. Well, that does kind of conveniently line back up with when we were supposed to redistrict anyway. So, and then at the same time, it's like we've never seen anywhere in history where in government where if we give them a little, they give it back. So people are not seeing the whole picture here. I don't know what your opinion is on Prop 50, but I did have that conversation, so I thought I'd bring it up and see what you think.
Yeah, well, Proposition 50, which I've already voted on, I turned in my mail-in ballot, because I'm, that's just what I do. To me, this little special election, mail it in. We can just do it. And I did. So, I vote no on everything anyway, so it just doesn't matter. But whatever the case may be, no. But Proposition 50 is a like you said, it's a ploy to be able to bolster the Democratic Party into just keeping their power in California. As long as I remember, Democrats have been in power since about the time, just before, when Duke Magee and all those people were in power there. And the Assembly of California has been Democratic since then. Even during the Arnold Schwarzenegger years, we had a strong Democratic presence. And now they have a supermajority. They want to keep that supermajority. 2010, we voted the fact that we wanted an independent citizen council to go ahead and do districting in California. I think it's a slap in the face of the people of California to be able to be in support of something where a political party in the assembly can take control of those districts and be able to rewrite them as whenever they want to, because every 10 years we have to anyway by census. I think it disenfranchises the people that are in the redder parts of more conservative parts of California because they're, as much as the bedroom, like I live in Gilroy, so it's a bedroom community.
Hmm.
It extends out to here. The redistricting extends out to here, but it even extends out past that. It goes out into the Central Valley, into the agricultural places and stuff where people seem to be a little bit more conservative than liberal. And I think it's a travesty. I think it's a bad move for California, but California is used to making bad moves. I mean, that's just the way it is. The Democrats have a stronghold. They don't want conservatives here. They want us all out, which is fine. I say freaking move out and let the damn place burn down to the ground. But I love California. I mean, I was born and raised here. I'm not ready to give up yet. And I'm going to sit around and see what happens, whether it kills me or whether I prosper from it.
Yeah, the redistricting thing that people don't understand is it's not just moving the lines, and people don't understand what the difference is between redistricting and gerrymandering, which is exactly what they're intending to do.
Mhm.
And what this is going to do, I'm gonna give you an example. Like we know, you may know that like District 3 and 5 in California, which is roughly, as you said, Central Valley,
Mhm.
is conservative.
Yes.
But in this redistricting, what may even happen is they'll combine 3 and 5 into one district, which dilutes its power when it comes to voting for
Mhm.
issues in California. Another tactic they will use is they might take some Democrats from this district, move it over to another one. So also further diluting the voting power and consensus of a district that may have been red, but now we're looking at it being purple.
Mhm.
So they know what they're doing and what they're trying to do. There's even conservative districts up in far north. Once you start getting up into the Napa area and past that,
Mhm.
they're trying to rope into a more democratic district now, which
Yeah.
is what they're trying to do. So yeah, they're pretty much screwing California over,
Yeah.
and that's what people aren't seeing. Like, okay, cool, you hate Donald Trump, you don't want to have a Republican president going forward, whatever. But the reality is, you got to look at as a resident of California, what it's going to do for California moving forward, and it sets the precedent. In that, while you can screw conservatives in California over, if it ever flips the other way, you've already put into place, well, now you're on the other side of it and you're going to be crying about how you're not represented.
Yeah.
So that's what people are not understanding. It's not, you can't just have this knee jerk reaction to like, I hate Donald Trump, so fuck him and I'm not going to. Okay, great. There's other ways to approach that, but you're giving your rights away right now. And while you may be benefiting from it now because you have the supermajority, in the future, California is going to be screwed because you already put into place what is acceptable, and when it becomes fully Republican, for example, they're going to run with that. And there's nothing you could do with it. They'll just go, oh, yeah, but remember 2025? So
It never ceases to amaze me, the stupidity of the political parties.
and again, it comes down to the average person, Bruce. And I hate calling people stupid because I don't think they are. I just think they don't want to be bothered or so overwhelmed with their daily routines that they just don't have time. Point in case, I go on Threads once in a while, which I recommend you don't. It's a cesspool, but I go on Threads once in a while, and what I'll do is I will go down the rabbit hole of arguing with people just for entertainment, and I don't do it all the time, but every once in a while I get in the mood. And what I did is I typed in Prop 50 just to see what people are thinking on that side, and almost everybody that was talking about it was referring to the advertisements that they were seeing.
Oh God, it's terrible.
I'm like, hold on, your entire basis for how you're going to vote is based on the advertisement you agree with?
It's terrible.
That's
It
the
is so
problem.
terrible. It's
Yeah,
terrible.
that's the problem.
I mean, if you want to flip something real quick, let's go to Prop A, which is the California thing where we lost the federal funding to the hospitals and stuff. And the advertisement I saw the other day, because I stream everything, is now that they're looking at, oh, okay, so now first responders are going to be affected by Prop A. All of a sudden, you're not going to get cops that are going to be coming to crimes they're happening here. The cops already don't come to the crime
Yeah.
scenes. And the
Yeah.
problem with crime is that you can do all you want to get first responders going to where they want to be, whether that be cops or whether it be fire department, whether it be the EMTs or whatever. The fact of the matter is that you still have the other side, the hospitals and everything that are involved in this. Is the federal funding being cut for Medicaid and places like that going to affect small town hospitals? Yeah, it's going to. Federal funding is going to affect everything. But what head of the snake do you chop to make sure that everything is right across the board with federal funding for all of these programs? We can't sustain the programs that we got because they keep just either taxing us to death or and if they can't tax us to death, they keep creating more money. And it just dilutes our money. It dilutes our buying power. Now, the fact that this Prop A is going through in California, and who knows whether it's going to go through or not. I got a bad feeling because we're in, Democrat held a state that they're going to pass this thing. That's fine. Or my property taxes are going to go up, or some kind of sales tax is going to be brought in. But the problem with all of this stuff happens to be with the execution of the laws that are already done. Like you said, we circle back to the immigration stuff. We have a crime problem here in the bigger cities. The problem is that they can arrest them all. That's fine, but they let them out. So there's no
Right.
follow up to that.
There's no
Yeah,
real punishment.
yeah, exactly. And Prop A is not gonna solve that, you know, and redistricting isn't gonna solve that. None of that's gonna solve that. It's gotta be on the local level. Ken, my co-host on the Weather Report, says that all the time. You've got to be involved in the local level. You've got to be able to get into your city council meetings. So a lot of people don't go. I go at least once every couple of months. I'll go, uh, um, and it's amazing how many people just don't care what goes on in your city council. And there's a lot of things that just get passed by. It's because there's no support for anybody. There's no public outcry for anything to change. So nothing changes because you've elected these people you don't even know, whether it be a panel of 6, 9, 12 people in your city council. You don't know them. You just kind of go like, oh, okay, well, this one's been in for a while. Maybe I just want a new face. Yeah, they don't know. You just check boxes. And they don't do any campaigning. They don't come to your door and knock on your door. I haven't had one city council person come and knock on my door. So the best thing you can do is either get involved in your community, get involved in your city council meeting, and get involved on the local level and run for your first step up, which is like the school boards and stuff like that. It's terrible from what you see out there. And I urge people that if you want change, you have to go out there and do it on a local level.
Yeah, agreed. So I've always said this that um, pressure comes from the bottom. It's bottom up. It's not top down.
Mhm.
And I've actually had this discussion with a local politician in my area, and I actually had him on the show, one of the early interviews, and it wasn't my greatest. I could have pushed on him a lot more, trust me. But the reality is, he didn't agree with that. He was like, "Well, it does. That's not true. The top, it works from the top." And then, I'm like, "No, dude, you're not seeing that the foundational base is the majority of the people. If the majority of the people band together and tell you, no, you're going to do it this way, you're going to be forced to change. That's just how it works."
Yeah.
So, uh, so people just don't understand that they do have more power than they think. But what you said is correct. They're not getting involved.
Right.
And what you're talking about with police response, yeah, I've seen it. You know, are they responding in Oakland? I mean, I hate doing. If I get a job in Oakland, I do not like going there. I don't like Stockton. I don't do Stockton. Bakersfield's another one I don't like. Although that's more conservative out there. But still, it's just some areas in California where I'm like, I'm just gonna avoid San Francisco. Don't like going there anymore. I
Yeah.
just won't. There's pockets where it's very evident the police do not respond or enforce. But when you were just talking about federal funding, as far as it being applied or taken away from like police or hospitals or whatnot, let me ask this question though: how is the federal government responsible for it when
Federal-
this is something that is managed at the local level? I mean, it's the policies put in place by local government that got you here. When it comes to hospitals, do we really need federal funding? I mean, let's be honest. Obamacare screwed the industry. All it was a attempt to price fix the industry. Lord, no, I can't prove it, but who knows who got whatever kickbacks from this whole deal. And now it got from where I remember I can get insurance for a certain price that was affordable to like, no matter what you do, here's your price across the board. And the
Yeah.
only people who benefit from it are those who literally are on the edge or below poverty level. Everyone else, this is your price.
And
Period.
it's designed. It's designed. It's designed to be that way. It was a total. All you got to do is follow the money. I mean, if you
Mm.
sit back there, and now it's easier than anything to follow the money. You've got several websites out there that have their pulse on the finger of federal spending and who gets what from where. We could talk about any politician you want to. They're all funded by somebody. Even somebody as saintly as Thomas Massey is still getting federal
Yeah.
federal funding and stuff like that. So we can go there all day.
Yeah, we can go down the donor rabbit hole.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But all you got to do is follow the money. Do I think that county hospitals or rural hospitals should be federally funded? No, I don't think so at all. Me as being a taxpayer in California is different than me being a taxpayer for the federal government. Uh, we vote on our taxes here in California, and if we don't vote the right way, well, then the legislature just passes it anyway. So I mean, the
Yeah, but
situation.
I didn't vote for the additional gas taxes that they're imposing.
No, but yeah, Governor Newsom just decided that
That was
by
just a
the snap
governing
of a
body,
finger,
or yeah, a
there
governing
you
body or
go.
board that decided, hey, due to environmental whatever, we're going to add another percentage.
Yeah.
I didn't vote on that.
Yeah. So I think really what it comes down to is this is just a great big bitch fest for everybody to, kind of throw their matches into the fire and say, it's bad that, federal funding is being, stripped away from this, and Medicare is getting stripped away from that, and Social Security is getting taxed for this and everything. It's a shit show. I mean, just to
It
put it
is.
bluntly. And for the federal government to step in here and Trump to go ahead and start slashing with Elon Musk and Doge and the department that we've always had. Doge has always been there, regardless of what
Just
people
wasn't
think.
called Doge.
Doge has always
Yeah.
been there.
Yeah.
And but this is a thing that needed to be done. And I think, to me, if you would cut 15% across all programs across the board, what lives lives, what dies dies, is what I think is fair and honorable. Do I think that we should close all these departments? Oh yeah, absolutely. Department of Education, Department of Transportation, all these money makers that have all these contracts and stuff to their preferred people,
Yeah.
unions and stuff like that. I'm a union guy. I like unions. I think unions are good. I think public sector or the public unions, the federal unions are atrocious. But that being said, like I said, Ken, like I said, I refer to him a lot, in the weather report. He thinks that it should be 50% across the board, just slash everything all the way across the board. And that's kind of high.
Yeah,
Kind of high.
yeah,
But,
I would say maybe, but
yeah, but there's a whole bunch of social safety nets that are out there that don't need to be there, because what happens is people get dependent on this stuff. It's like, don't feed the animals at the zoo, because then they get used to the people food, right? So
that's the point.
yeah,
That right there, what you said is exactly it. We created this.
yes,
People became dependent because we were
absolutely,
letting them become dependent on it. I want to clarify something, because I just realized that what I said about the hospitals, people are going to give me crap about and say, "Oh, you have no heart." No, people would. I want to explain that a little bit. What I said about pulling funding from hospitals, because after Obamacare and everything else that happened in the insurance industry, I'm just going to give you a story. I remember when my brother got in a major accident where he rolled his car, the whole bit, and this was, oh man, this was years ago. But even then, things were exorbitant. And there's no reason you could tell me a box of Band-Aids cost $5,000.
right,
Okay. The medical industry needs to be looked into, and they need to be torn apart, and they need to be regulated, because your medications shouldn't cost what they are. But that has more to do with how they regulate the drugs and whatnot. And we're flipping the bill for most of the world when it comes to the percentage of how much we pay versus, like, the people in Europe or Canada, et cetera. But when it comes to the hospitals, like, is this surgery, a certain surgery, really worth $30,000? Is it
yeah,
30,000? Is it really worth 50,000?
yes,
Why is my cancer medication, thank God I don't have cancer, but why is cancer medication 20,000, 50,000 per?
mhm,
Like,
mhm,
why? That
mhm,
doesn't make any sense.
mhm.
Why are bandages being billed at $5,000? Doesn't make any sense. So while hospitals can cry and scream, they are charging. They are getting their money. What they don't like is they're not going to be federally subsidized when someone walks and doesn't pay the bill. And a lot of that is from people who don't have insurance, who are not necessarily the working class. It's the people that were relying on these programs,
Mhm.
as you said earlier. So this is going to be painful, but I think we need to have this reset. We need it.
States need to be more responsible for the things that they want. So I decided to move to Gilroy, California. Had no idea that we had a hospital, but we have St. Louis, which is now a part of the Santa Clara health system now. So it's
Don't you guys? I mean, you got a Kaiser also in Morgan Hill, though, right? I think it's in Morgan Hill, or
we have a Kaiser here in Gilroy. It's a
oh, it
clinic.
is in
So
Gilroy.
yeah, so it's not a hospital, but make a long story short, I had a emergency appendectomy a couple of years ago, in which they had to come get me by ambulance and take me all the way to San Jose, which is 45 minutes away. I shouldn't be here. There's a couple of times
Right.
I shouldn't have been here. But the fact of the matter is that they couldn't take me to St. Louis because, of course, I had Kaiser insurance, so they had to get me up there. I just think I'm all into about the 10th Amendment. I'm into states' rights, but I think states have gotten used to sucking off of the government tit,
Of
and
course.
and I think it's wrong. I think that in some ways, and I hate to say this, that governor is right. I mean, Governor Newsom is right to be rebelling against Trump on a lot of stuff that Trump is trying to do federally within California, because I think that California is a sovereign state. Every state is a sovereign state. Every state is a sovereign country, and we decided to come together as a union to be able to defend our borders against enemies and stuff like that. But we're still sovereign states within itself, and the federal government ought to do what the federal government was supposed to do, and states need to do what their citizens want them to do. And whether or not the Democrats want to fund hospitals and abortions and stuff like that with my tax money is only my decision by vote. It's actually states are democracy, and then the whole of the United States is a constitutional republic, because that's what we
Yeah.
decided to do. Because as and you being in California here too, when we vote in California, the majority wins. That's what it is. It doesn't matter whether San Francisco is a huge voting block and that Los Angeles County is the biggest voting block of any country or any state. The majority wins, and that's why we have this Democratic supermajority here. But the fact of the matter is that states ought to be able to fund what they need to fund here within their own state, and the federal
Yeah,
government needs to stay as much as it is possible.
but using their own damn money, using
Yeah,
our own money,
yeah,
right? If and here's the caveat to that. If states need to get back to statehood,
yeah.
correct. But then you should also reject all federal funding if that's going to be your stance. You need to manage yourself.
It's a slippery slope.
I'm just saying,
Yeah,
because what are we supposed to be, the fourth largest economy in the world, as he likes to, brag about?
yeah,
Well, if we're making so much money and you're raping us so much in taxes, why are you even accepting federal funding for anything then?
absolutely, absolutely. I
There's no
agree.
reason for it.
I agree. I
No
agree.
reason for it. And here's the thing that we need to get back to. I think some of these states and these governors also need to realize that you are a member state of the United States of America. And so and this leads to like what people were talking about with the National Guard, right? And we can argue whether or not how Trump is handling it that is constitutional or not. Uh, but my take on that is if you're going outside the union and opposing the union and you're no longer aligning with the union, at what point does the federal government not say, hold on, guys, you're no longer representing what this entire nation stands for?
Mhm.
Right? Now I'm not saying march in with troops, but federally, if we're all supposed to come together as a United States and we have a certain direction and way of things that we believe, and we're supposed to move forward in one direction as a country, and that you have a state over here who wants to act like they don't belong to the union, they could do whatever they want outside of what is written, and not actually adhering to the or actually what I'm trying to say is stay within the guardrails of what makes up the United States of America. Then does the federal government not have a right to check in on them, say, "Well, hey guys, what are you doing over here?"
Let's take Portland. as our example, because Portland is the shit show of the world
Oh
right
man,
now.
they have surpassed California.
Trump is in every aspect right about sending in the National Guard to Portland and protecting federal interests.
Yes.
The ICE facility. In fact, I think that they should have a perimeter around the ICE facility way bigger than it is, because right now they're still blocking the streets entering the ICE facility and stuff like that. Anybody who is attacking that, anybody who is deterring traffic going in and out, ought to be rounded up like Soylent Green with scoops and everything and just taken away. I mean, that is my honest opinion about that whole thing, whether it be peaceful or not.
And
Go
do you
ahead.
agree that the local police should be handling that though? Because it's
Absolutely.
not. Yeah.
Absolutely. But they don't, because they're all bred from, what Portland has become over the years and decades that it has become. Portland has been its own little kind of city or city state within the state for decades. I mean, they were the first to bring in, public transit there. They've got this, they got a great system going. I've been to Portland. Portland's a beautiful town. It's this one little section of Portland right now that is just a shit show. And it kind of moves around. It was in downtown, and now it's moved to the ICE facility. And it's just one of these things that you've got. It's like when you have a major flood somewhere, right? Okay, they're going to the media is going to show you the place is more flooded than anything. They're going to show you the puddle that's 6
Yeah, of
feet
course
deep
they are.
with the head sticking out.
Yeah, they want the views.
And then 100 feet away, there's no flood at all. The same thing's happening with Portland, and it's atrocious. Chicago, New Orleans, you name the city. You need to send troops in there. If the police aren't doing their job, you need to send National Guard in there to protect the federal interest. Other than that, I can give a shit what happens to Portland. I can give a crap what happens to Chicago. Those people decided by their vote that they wanted to be governed by the people that they elected to govern, and hell be high water.
So, okay. So protecting federal facilities is exactly where this application makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But let's say that should we let a state become a hellhole, become destitute, and rammed by crime, just because people voted that way is the other question. And then when we're talking about California earlier, and my point being about being part of the union, when you have the governor himself popping off and trying to talk about how we should secede as a state, that's not acceptable.
I will say this. Does California have a military?
Well, no, I already know what you're going to say.
I mean,
I'm with you. I'm with you. No, they have no military.
When you start spouting off the fact that, we want to succeed from the state, does California have a military? No, California doesn't have a military. We have a national
They can't stand
guard.
on their own.
Yeah, we can't stand on our own. We don't have tanks. We don't have nuclear weapons. We don't have anything of sort to go against the power of the federal government, the U.S. Army, the Navy, whatever.
Understood, but the governor of California himself saying these things.
Yeah.
I mean, would you say the federal government has a right to tell the governor or go to the state of California, the governing body of the state of California, and say, all right, what's the reasoning for this rhetoric, this narrative of secession? Like, why are you trying to push this? Are you trying to, isolate yourself and separate from the union? And then to your point, it's like, it's a stupid situation that they want to do because now they're trapped. Like you're gonna have the coastline, and then you're gonna be blocked off on all other sides, not being able to defend yourself or do anything against the United States of America. But then I guarantee if they ever did this, they're gonna cry and try to be an ally of the U.S. because they're gonna realize they're boxed in and they have nothing they can do. And then what about pulling out our training bases in San Diego? Like we got the Marine training facility, like we have the base over there in Palm Springs.
Yeah.
Like
29 Palms.
Yeah. What now? What It's like, how is this going to happen?
It's the separation of the ideologies of the political parties that are running these states and local governments, and that's just the way it is. I mean, we boxed ourselves into a situation where now we got to go. Wow, we're really screwed. Either way.
I guess my point is like when you got governors talking this, it's like they're trying to stir shit up just because they don't like Trump.
Yeah.
You got Newsom said it. I think J.B. Pritzker actually, I don't know if he said it or he made a under the radar type of comment about it. But other blue states have said this. And it's like, are we trying to recreate the South versus the North? But it wouldn't literally be the South versus North. It would be like, the left versus right war. Like, what are they pushing for?
Yeah.
And all for the sake that they don't like Donald Trump. And then their citizens are caught in between because, we give these politicians too much power. They think they're rock stars these days. They can do whatever they want.
Mhm.
It's like, hold on. It's like the approach to war, in my opinion. So, like, because two politicians, leaders of two countries, don't like each other, we're now going to send troops in to fight each other. Well, fuck that. You guys get in the ring and duke it out. See who wins. It doesn't make any
Absolutely.
sense.
It would be a lot different if we had, a WWE pay-per-view that had all the governors pitted against each other, and
I would
and
pay
just have
so
a battle
much for
royal,
that.
right?
Oh, that would be great. I think that would be amazing if we can get to that point. I mean, could you imagine Trump and Kim Jong-un over there in the ring just going at it? Rocket Man versus Orange, Cheeto Dusted Man. Like, that's what they would call it, right? That'd be freaking great.
But in all seriousness, I think that we have just let government. We as citizens have become complacent to government. We could become complacent to the things that we're used to. We get just really comfortable with what we have, man. I mean, really. I mean, I never thought in a million years that I'd have a home. I'm sitting here with a home. I'm doing everything that I can do to protect it, with insurances, with cost of living, with making sure that this thing is still standing, on its foundation and stuff like that. And yet, outside of my little bubble that I have around my less than a quarter acre freaking home here, I've got walls falling down around me. And so we like the Costco's, we like the convenience, we like the sunshine. We pay a sunshine tax, me and you, George. And all that stuff is falling down around us, and we're looking at each other and just going like, we created this. We created all of this. Now, whether or not you voted for it or not is irregardless of it. But when was the last time you talked to your neighbor? How many neighbors do you know around you?
Okay, but I don't think that's a political thing. When it comes to like talking to neighbors, I think that is an engineered social behavior over time. Because now we're talking. I'm getting away from politics,
Yeah,
but
no, go ahead.
that is a result of always having to have the latest, greatest, newest entertainment in your hand. It all started with social media, and once that happened, we started separating from each other to interact face to face. Now everything's done online, or you don't even have conversations with anyone on the phone. It's a text message. Nobody wants to talk to anybody.
Right.
It's like send a message.
Yeah.
And there's a place for that. Like for me, if I'm busy and I'm in a meeting or whatever, yeah, text message makes sense. Please text me and then I'll call you back. But nobody wants to talk to anybody.
People have lost that.
Right. So I don't think that particular example in terms of talking to your neighbor, not knowing your neighbor, is a political thing so much as it is a societal thing. It's what we have become due to being trained.
Yeah.
We've been behaviorally modified and conditioned into looking at our phones and our social media, and that's our world. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that led to these keyboard warriors and these people who believe that because they have 1 million followers on X that they're the biggest shit in the world. Well, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, once you walk out your door, you're nothing. You really are nothing. They don't want to hear that, but that's true.
Yeah.
And it's like when it comes to podcasting, for example, just use that example because that's what you do. We have that. My social media does not reflect what goes on with the podcast whatsoever. I'm horrible at it. I don't grow it because I don't have time to sit there and post 24 freaking hours. But there's people that they try to make this their living. And what's dangerous, and I'm going to tie this back together, Bruce, about what you said in the beginning, is like with the news. Now they're relying on what's being said on social media as fact and truth, when most of it is a bunch of bots just kicking the hornet's nest.
Yeah. I think the fact that you've got to go, it's like we cannot trust the mainstream media anymore. You can't trust.
But even independent so-called journalism.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting at. So now we got X that we're going into, and we're going like, oh, well, that's where we get the news first because they're faster than anybody else. Faster than NBC, faster than Fox, faster than CNN. Fine, it is. But there, like you said, there's a whole bunch of bots that are kicking the hornet's nest, and you still have to do your due diligence. I had a conversation last night with a person that we've had on our show before, and she had been duped into posting something that she saw online. What she found out was basically, a bot kicking the hornet's nest, and it was
Really?
wrong. And I go, you still have to do your due diligence. Just because I found it on X doesn't make it true. I mean, they showed this huge presence of Boston yesterday of the No Kings protest,
Oh,
but
yeah.
but the picture was from another protest back a couple of years ago. So I
Yeah.
mean, they're
Was it from
still
2017?
yeah, they're
Yeah.
they're reusing stock photos from stuff that happened earlier. Now, did Boston have that turn up? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I don't freaking go to Boston. I don't care about Boston. The only thing I care about Boston is that they beat the Yankees. That's what I care about. Uh, but but no, I mean, we got to take this stuff with a grain of salt. When you're dealing with social media, which is our main source of information now, you still have to take it with a grain of salt. You still have to do your due diligence as you go forward, especially with the weather report is a different animal than the weather view. The weather view deals with news and politics and cultural stuff that we do every morning. I still have to research before I get into that realm on every morning
Yeah.
before
Absolutely.
before I go with, because a lot of these guys, and I love all my freaking co-hosts, my collaborators and collaborators will come out sometimes, and I have to go like, hey, whoa, you know, this is what's really going on. Even though we have a dialogue there that we discuss these things back and forth, always because it's open dialogue, it's a critical thinking discussion and stuff like that. But you have to do your due diligence. If you don't do your due diligence, I'm doing my listeners wrong by giving them bad information. And then they're going to react, whether they're, the dozens of people that I have listening are
Yeah.
going
No,
to react.
I agree.
Yeah, they're going to react in a way that is contrary to what's really happening out there. I think we have
No,
a response.
I
I
agree.
think we have a responsibility as independent podcasters to at least do as much due diligence as we can to get as much fact out there as possible. Screw the Hannitys, screw the Joe Rogans, screw everybody else, like that. It doesn't matter. They have an agenda to go by. You can say that Joe Rogan, shoots from the hip. He doesn't shoot from the hip. He's got his donators and stuff like that. He's got to do too. Same with Hannity. Same with all these other people that are doing this stuff.
Well, yeah,
So
Joe's got that $100 million plus
yeah,
contract.
absolutely. I
At
mean,
some point,
yeah,
someone's gonna say, "Whoa,
yeah.
hey, you need to
I
kind
got
of."
a tens and $15 contracts going on. So
I got nothing. I don't even push it. I'm bad about that. But you're correct. This is what you said is very akin to what Royce D'Orazio. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's another he was an influencer. He's another podcaster who's kind of switched his career up. He used to be like the Disney parks guy, so he'd go like to the Disney parks and do all this. He had a huge following TikTok, um, and he's been changing things. He's having more of these type of conversations now, getting away from it. And that's one of his peeves is self-moderation. There's not enough of it from podcasters,
right,
independent or otherwise. It's great that we don't have the regulation. We can say whatever we want. We could use whatever words we want. I can use as many expletives as I want.
right,
But we also have to realize that there's a responsibility because there are people who will hear us, big or small, doesn't matter. We have our people who listen to us and they may take what we say as, fact
mhm,
in terms of he said this because this is what he does and I trust what he says or her. And now I'm going to move forward in my life and I'm going to apply what that person said, like me, you, whoever. And this is now going to be my way of thinking and the basis on how I make all my decisions. There are all those people out there. And I would say that if you listen to me, you, whoever, take even what I say with a grain of salt, do your own research. And I've said
absolutely,
that. And there's times where I'm like, I don't have time to do all the research. Like I've done it, but I'll even tell people when I'm recording, hey, look this up yourself. Like, don't just hang on my word.
absolutely.
And I think there has to be some self-moderation. I don't believe we need to be censored. I don't think we need the whole FCC regulation stuff applied.
No,
That's what Royce keeps trying to say. I was just on one of his podcasts today listening, and he believes that we need to get to that. It's like, no, I don't believe in that. Fuck that. I want to say fuck shit, cunt, whatever. I want to say however I want to express myself. I want to do that. But I also realize that I have a responsibility. Like I can't be pushing hate speech, and
yeah,
I don't want to bombard social media with nothing but like beheadings and death and pedophilia. And like, what kind of person would I be if I did that? You
yeah.
know, I believe in your approach. Do your research, present facts and data, and I say facts and data at the time of my recording
Yeah.
because as things as things progress, it could change.
It could change like right in the middle of your podcast.
Right through it's happened. I'm like recording something, and all of a sudden I see something pop on next. Like, well, all right, I guess that's no longer valid. So, but whatever. But yeah, I'm just saying you're correct. I believe everything that you said is absolutely true. And unfortunately, too many people are easily influenced, and they hang on the words of like these, Ben Shapiro's, Joe Rogan's, Michael Knowles, all these guys. And I'm not saying they don't have valid points, but in the end, they're no different than you or I. They're just people. They're just people with opinions. They are not qualified to actually be somebody in which you would hang your entire life view on.
Yeah.
They're just not.
Yeah.
Period. Same thing with a politician. They're just another person.
But-
There's nothing special about them.
But George, would you sell out like Aaron would for the $100 million contract and just become the next Rachel Maddow?
I would never be that. But at the same time, I get it. I get the question because that is something that I think all of us think about.
Yeah.
Like, let's just be honest. Would we not rather have this be our career, for example? But there's a problem. Problem with that is you do get what you ask for.
Yeah.
Once it becomes the career, then it becomes the grind, and then it's no longer you literally caring about what you're doing. You're just like, God damn, I gotta put another one out. I got to talk about this issue, and then you're just stuck in this stuck in these four walls that you can't escape.
Right.
Because if you don't do X, you don't get Y in return, and you're part of this vicious cycle of being a content creator.
I'm broke
for
again.
money. Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. But as far as the $100 million question, yeah, I mean, I think most people will say they wouldn't, but they would.
Yeah. Yeah.
Question is how long can you hack it?
Yeah.
Like, how long can you swallow it before you blow up and say, fuck this, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think that someone like me or you would have the integrity to, I mean, even if someone waved in front of your face, I mean, it's hard to turn that down. But at the same time, you gotta stand up for who you are. So I can't answer that question until someone actually presents it to me, because it would be tempting.
Yeah. Well, right now I'm living the dream because I love to talk. I love podcasting. When I started podcasting, I was like, man, this is great, man. I'd be able to talk. And the whole thing is when I get into my social circles now, which is mostly because I live in a Democrat kind of area.
Yeah.
When they start talking about politics and stuff like that in a social situation, I'm going like, hey, you know what? I got two shows. I got the Weather Report and I got the Weather View. Let's talk fishing. Let's talk baseball. Let's talk football. Let's talk anything that I don't have to talk about other than what you can get from one of my two shows. That's basically what I tell them because it's so freeing. And in that way, number one, I get to do what I love. I get to enjoy the people that I like to hang around with. And it's not work. And like you said, it's the $100 million question. Would $100 million help me out? For a contract? Oh, absolutely. It would change my life totally. But then it would be the grind and everything else like that. And then my other two businesses. I'm in a direct marketing business for Plexus Worldwide. I use the products. That's what I do. I love it. I have a backyard nursery. I love gardening. If I got $100 million contract into doing gardening and stuff like that, would it be different than what I'm doing now? Absolutely. Would it be a grind? Absolutely. Would I hate it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
becomes a job.
I'd rather be on the small end of it and put in my extra 20 hours a week that I do, producing this program, doing my backyard nursery, promoting my other direct marketing program, stuff like that. Yeah, it's a grind. It's a grind. It's an enjoyable grind. It's not like work. It's something that I love.
Yeah, it's different. It's a different grind because you're not under the pressure of if I don't do this, my paycheck's taken away, or
exactly
got to be afraid to say something because then I will no longer get the support from my employer. Really, and even when it comes to sponsors, I mean, I look at it this way. I got some affiliate marketing things going on, and it's like they approved it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. They approved it.
I get the email. So, we no longer want you.
Fine, whatever. I mean, I'm not getting rich off this anyway. I don't really care. I'm not doing it for that reason. So look, let's. I don't know how much time you have, but I do want to get your opinion on whether or not foreign nations are running our nation. Like, do you believe that's true? Is that just a bunch of bullshit?
Are you
Like
talking
just
about the
being
global cabal? Are you talking
oh
about the
well,
Rothschilds and the?
I've got the right there, that globalist plan to collapse everything. I got that book sent by
Klaus
AP
Schwab?
Roberts. Yeah, he actually signed that and sent it to me, which was great. But yeah, there's that. But also, everyone thinks that Israel runs America, that Qatar runs America, just because they may donate and they have all this power and influence. It's really like, a drop in the bucket compared to everything else that the US does. And, the US also influences other nations. We do the same thing.
Yeah.
But what is your take on whether or not that is true? And you're also, well, I'm going to do a follow up. Like, our relationships with these countries, like how far do you think we should go in supporting them as well? So let's start with how you feel or what your viewpoint is on whether or not other countries are actually running our nation.
I think they have an influence of it. I think that the United Nations is probably the worst out of all of them about the perpetrators of running other countries and running this country. I really believe that that's so. Even though we disdain the United Nations and why it's still sitting in New York, I have no idea because they don't represent us at all.
Yeah, well, some will argue the UN is really the US,
Yeah,
but
and and all you got to do is look at the headline this morning. Israel and Hamas are back at it.
oh yeah, I
You
saw
know,
it.
so I mean, look at that. Now we're in a quagmire where President Trump says, we're going to go in there, we're going to kill them all. So now we're going to get troops on the ground over there. You've got the Klaus Schwabs, you got the WEF, you've got the Rothschilds and the old money that could be or could not be running the world. You've got the Putins, you've got the Kim Jong Uns, you've got all this stuff that is all combined in an interconnected network of people that actually do influence what goes on in the world. So it would be silly of me not to say uh, that other countries don't influence what happens in the United States, as well as those countries have influence about what's going on in their country by the United States, by the Saudis, by Israel, by whoever you think it's going to be. I think that unfortunately that we are probably running into a one world government eventually. Not in my lifetime. I mean, I've got one foot in the grave. I probably got 15, 20 years left in this
Yeah,
life.
you never know the way things are going though,
Yeah, you
Bruce.
never know. I don't want to live till be 100. Put it that way. But
Gotcha.
but no, I think that unfortunately, unless I see it, there's not enough turn in the actual world of countries and stuff like that that is able to turn the tide of a one world government. I really think that there's powers out there that are more powerful. Money's talks, bullshit walks. And I think that the situation that we're looking at. Look at UK. Look at all those European nations. They're all just going to this one world government that they feel is correct. Saudi Arabia is going to be one of those people like the United States that are going to kind of push back on that. But I think eventually you're going to have that situation where one or more is going to have to capitulate.
I think that there's definitely influence, but I don't think ownership,
No.
as people are trying to say.
Yeah.
We give Israel a hell of a lot more than they give us. And people will say, well, yeah, but they buy back. It's not all buyback in military supplies. It literally is not. 3.5 billion a year, regardless, is our commitment. And that's not all of it. That's just the minimum level that we send them. But we also fund 200 and some odd countries and territories throughout the entire world. Like, I think last time I looked up, combined territories and countries was 240.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah.
We
Well,
shell out this money.
Who has more military bases and more countries than anybody
Oh,
else
we
in the
do
world?
for sure, man.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
I mean, we got the largest military base in the Middle East right there in Qatar, which is, why that relationship's important. I know a lot of people like they're like, why are you saying they're our greatest? And I didn't say that they're our greatest. They're considered one of our greatest there for the reason that we have that relationship to where they allow us to host our biggest military base in the Middle East. So, when you have countries like Israel who decide that they're just going to go ahead and attack Hamas leaders on Qatari soil, that kind of creates a problem
Yeah.
for us.
Mhm.
And so that was what I was meaning by that. And even under Biden, I know none of us respect him, but even he stated under his administration before then that Qatar was one of our greatest allies in the area. But you got to understand the context because of that.
Yeah.
And so they try to play Switzerland in the Middle East, but they're really not. We know they're playing both sides. The US accepted it. We know that. We're not stupid.
Well,
But we also have the power by way of having our base right there to go, oh, hold on, guys. let me reel you back a bit. So it's a very tricky relationship there. But I don't think that anybody's running us necessarily. Yeah, sure. We may have some politicians that are influenced and definitely, look out. Like we could talk about Ilhan Omar, who basically looks out for Somalia first before the United States. But I'm not sure it's all due to funding. She's just fucking out there. And then you have other politicians who may be more pro-Israel, but I don't think Israel's running the United States of America because when push
no.
comes to shove, I guarantee you the US is gonna go, "No, no, 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 hold on, guys."
Yeah.
And we've done it before. We've done it
Tap the
before.
brakes. Tap the brakes, brother.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like I said, it's all about money. And every place that we have a military base in, the country that we're in there is all about the American dollar. And I can talk about the American dollar, and I can talk about the deflation, the value
Right.
of the dollar, but still, people out there in the world want American dollars. American dollars are still what fuels the economies of many nations. And until that changes, the military, the United States military in the United States is going to have more influence over the world than any other superpower in the world. So,
Well, China's definitely contesting that power as of late, but they've been on this multi-year plan. I think it's like a 1,000-year or 100-year plan.
yeah,
I forgot how they coined it, but they've been on the path to control the world.
yeah.
I don't know if they'll get there, but they definitely have influence.
Yeah. Not in my lifetime, but like I said, I keep saying not in my
Yeah.
lifetime. I hope not.
Well, and let's talk about the what you said about the one world government. I think I've been thinking about this more, and it seems like that's where it's heading. But Bruce, I'm also realizing that the problem with that is money aside, money doesn't matter to extreme fundamental idealists. Period. And then now we're talking about cultures and religions. How are you going to rein in 1.89 billion
Billion, yeah.
Muslims?
Yeah.
How are you going to do that? How are you going to suddenly integrate a fundamental belief in Islam based on the Quran and get them to integrate with the entire world and rule them under one government? How's that going to happen?
Yeah,
That's
I don't
not gonna
know. It's
happen.
going to be one great, big, huge civil war, and I don't. It,
And I'm just talking about in the
I'll go back to my
context.
I'll go back to my statement. I think that we're heading that way,
Oh no, I agree.
but it's going to be a bloody mess.
I think they're pushing for it, but the more I think about it, is like, how are they going to make that happen? Are they going to literally try to kill almost 2 billion
Yeah,
people
yeah,
to make it happen? Yeah, of course.
yeah,
Well,
basically, I
course.
think so.
sure they would.
Yeah.
Why not? You know. But then, oh, here's the other question though. So China's going to come to heel as well then? I mean, look how many people live in
Some
China.
of the larger countries like China, yeah, I don't think so because they have their own internal problems with their ethnic people that they've let in, and the different people. I mean, China's huge. Same with the Russia. I mean, it's still huge. There's still a huge swath of different ethnicities and stuff like that, and they've got
Same
their
with
own,
India.
and they've got their own problems within their own continents. But I do think that some of the lesser nations, like the UK, is just lost. They're just lost, and
Yeah, they've been lost for some time.
yeah, and you get that little cancerous cell, and cancer seems to want to metastasize and move itself out. So it is going to move
Agreed.
itself out, and infect other countries. So whether it infects, a little bit of Russia, whether it affects a little bit of China, whether it affects a little bit of the United States, it's eventually going to metastasize and get into those countries, like it already has been. But like I said, it's not going to happen in my lifetime. But I think that there's truth in, if you've ever seen The Time Machine, where people are going to get into that notion that it's going to be an autonomous one kind of government type of situation. Now, is it going to be able to be governed and anything successfully? I don't know. You're always going to have those factions. You're always going to have a religious faction. You're always going to have a fundamentalist faction. You're always going to have a terrorist faction that's going to seek to undermine whatever kind of government is around them.
I don't know if it'll be necessarily a one world government, but more like the five families of the
Yeah,
American mob back in the
yeah,
day. You know,
a
where
cooperative.
they come in and meet and go, okay, guys, w- how are we going to handle banking? How are we going to handle money? You know, things like that. I think that would probably be more what a one world government would look like, because it's going to be too hard to wrangle in all the different cultures, beliefs, and et cetera,
Yeah,
and get them all come together. There's no way it's going to happen. But I can see that situation. I can see, like China, America, EU, et cetera. They're already doing it, but like literally really coming together and really deciding we're working together and we're going to control everything.
yeah.
And this is how we're going to do it. So, we got digital ID being pushed in the UK. How long is it before that starts to infiltrate, like you said, infect the rest of the countries around them? And listen, it's not just the UK that's lost.
We
France
have our
is
digital
lost.
ID right here.
We do. We do. But at the same time, they're not at the point where they're controlling our banking,
Right, right.
right? These are just doorways or portals to be able to manage those things by us, but we're not being controlled by the government yet. Yet China does it. They already do it. They have their social credit score system, which, by the way, I hear from what I've been seeing, reports got to dig into it, has been backfiring on them as of
Mhm,
late.
mhm.
It looks like economically they're starting to slip backwards. But in the UK, they're pushing this,
Yeah,
and Starmer's like standing behind it, and he's like, nope, moving forward, this is how it's going to be. And if you don't like it, too bad. And we also have Canada with their mandate of the gun buyback. You have no choice. It's like you got till
yeah,
this date to turn in your weapons. They already did it in Australia years back. We
yeah,
saw how that turned out for
yeah.
them during COVID, right?
Exactly.
Uh, so I think you're right. We're on track to it. I'm just trying to understand what that would look like. Like, there's no. I think it's going to be a conglomerate of people, like a five families type situation, where they're going to come together and then decide on certain things like banking, housing, like whatever stuff like that. But there's no way they're going to be able to rule. Like, there's not going to be on TV or whatever communications system they have then, one person representing the entire world. I don't know if that's going to
Yeah, I don't
happen.
think there's going to be like this one world president or anything like that.
We're never going to get to Star Trek. It's not going to
Yeah,
happen.
exactly.
you know, Eh, for people who don't know, just read those books or look into that. And that was kind of, what the whole premise
Yeah,
of Star Trek was being able to become one world where we all work together, kumbaya. But I don't know. I don't see
yeah.
it.
I mean,
You know,
but when you're talking about that has to be done with technology, and technology is really scary these days, especially when we're walking
true.
around with something as powerful as the laptop computer that we have, in here, and we're tracked all the time. All you got to do is type something or mention something into a microphone, and all of a sudden it's popping up on your TV, it's popping up on your feeds, it's popping up everywhere. We're not far away from it. We're not far away from being controlled. Seeing as what China's doing, we're not far away from somebody like Starmer saying, Trump is almost there, but Starmer saying, "Hey, if you don't like it, this is what's happening. This is what we're doing." I can't believe what I'm seeing in the UK right now. It's just unbelievable. What they're talking about, well, we love free speech, but we're going to put you in jail for a Facebook post,
Right.
or their unfettered borders of immigration that they're letting people just change the whole culture of what the UK used to be in order to just push down their own people in order to find favor with Islam and the Muslims that are in the area, and to be able to accept the Sharia law and the other cultures and stuff like that. They're able that seem not to want to assimilate into the culture of where they moved to or immigrated to. But the same thing is happening in the United States. We're fighting different factions here and there in different states that are going like, we don't want Sharia law here. No, I don't want Sharia law here. I'm used to the law that I'm used to being under. And if my wife has to worry about being in a certain area of town where she needs to cover her face or whatever, like that, bullshit. That's not what I was. That's not what it's all about. And I think that the other countries in this world are like I said, even ours are slowly shifting to that norm, and whether it be the enormity of the Islam faith or the Muslim faith or whatever you want to say, and Christianity is on its way out, or maybe it's on its way back up with the killing of Charlie Kirk. Uh, there's a retribution to be had, and I don't know which way it's going to go. I'm kind of scared about it.
Um, I think the EU or the European countries need to be like Poland. The Poland isn't messing around. They don't care.
Yeah.
They're controlling their borders. You know, you can't give away your own culture and your statehood due to empathy.
Right.
And under the guise of empathy and acceptance is how, since you brought it up and we're talking about it, Islam itself is going to infiltrate other countries and turn their cultures. And since we're talking about UK, it's funny how we had all these videos and people pushing the rhetoric that the culture of UK wasn't all white. Now they're trying to push out the idea of it being a white nation. Well, I'm sorry, but white people are actually indigenous to that area.
Yep.
I know people don't want to. They all want to believe that it's always a person of color
Yes.
who was the inhabitants of all places in the world. Really, a person of color inhabited and colonized and developed, the areas of the north of ice and snow. Sure. Right. And that's not true, and the people of the UK or skin color is white. And this isn't a white versus black or color thing. I'm just saying that they're intentionally pushing the narratives to change the culture and get you to accept it under the guise of racism and empathy and acceptance. And what we're seeing with what's happening in New York with Mondami is like, how scary is that?
Yeah.
And people say that, oh, he's in trouble because of the debate he had. Why? Because he asked whether or not Cuomo visited a mosque. Like, who gives a fuck? How many fucking Catholic cathedrals has Mondami been to? How many times has he fucking prayed the rosary or gotten his knee down in a pew? Like, seriously? That's what sways the votes? Like, how ridiculous are people?
It's pretty scary to listen to Mondami speak, getting back to U.S. politics and what's going on in New York. It's scary to me to think that's
all related, though, Bruce.
Yeah, it's all related. Yeah, it's all related. But I mean, it's pretty scary to living where I came from. I mean, I was born in the 60s. I grew up in the 70s. I matured in the 80s, got married in the 90s, and here I am today. To be able to listen to somebody like Mondami, to be able to listen to Ilhan Omar, to be able to listen to AOC is totally foreign to me. But I don't count anymore because I'm a dying voting block. My voting block is getting slimmer as we age. And these young people are coming up, and I have faith that some of the young people, there's still going to be a 50-50 split. No matter what happens, there's still going to be a 50-50 split. But I can't feel sorry for the people in New York City that are going to vote Mondami as their governor. I don't feel sorry for the people in Minnesota who keep Ilhan Omar in power. You get what you freaking vote for, no matter the makeup of your city is either there's a lot of conservatives in there, but there's more Democrats.
But
I don't.
Okay, but that argument, Bruce, which I do agree with what you're saying.
Yeah,
but on the surface, let's be honest. Yeah. You're saying in that situation they got what they vote for. Now that applies a lot to what happened in California when we're talking earlier.
Right.
But when we're talking about like Ilhan Omar, her district is made up with largely Somalian immigrants. They have the power. They've already went ahead and shifted and tilted the balance in their favor. Right. Same thing that's happening in New York. Under everyone's nose, you have this Muslim population that has grown exponentially, just blown up. And now that you have someone like Mondami, it's getting all of them to come together and unite to cast their vote because they know that they have the power to do so. So while they may have gotten what they voted for, who voted for it? Like who got what they voted for?
Well,
that's the other question.
That's what I'm saying is that you don't have the Republican Party or the Conservative Party or the Democrat Party who's against even Mondami and the numbers enough to overwhelm that vote because people just don't get interested about it. They're busy like me. Like when I get done with this podcast, I got another podcast I got to prepare for tonight. I'm having Aaron, a repeat of Aaron that I did earlier that I'm doing, but I got to do that. I've got stuff that I got to do out of my yard. I've got shopping to do. I've got this to do.
Right.
People are so consumed with their own lives and so consumed with other things in their lives that this will take care of itself. Somebody will vote him out, or there'll be a pushback. And then you wake up on the morning after the election, and you're like, oh my God, they fucking won. And then they're just going like, well, now what? So I really believe that the political parties, number one, aren't doing their job. And some of them do it better than others. Okay, the Democrats are out there. They got a machine. They know how to freaking run an election. And Democrats, when they get into like California here, or excuse me, the Republicans, when they talk about winning elections here in California, just do not put out the effort to go ahead and run a decent candidate, nor do they know how to get their people involved enough to want to go out and vote. So a lot of times, a lot of seats around here in California get uncontested because a Republican just says, I'm not going to win, so why run? So like I said, that's where I get my premise that you get what you vote for, because there's not enough base, or there's not enough enthusiasm of that candidate or that party to move themselves forward.
It's almost like you get what you don't vote for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing with we're talking about the youth in the future. It's like the fact that someone like AOC, who's, I hate to say it, because sometimes she actually has a sliver of genius, but a box of rocks can literally become the representative in her district.
Don't talk about my baby like that.
And then the other one that's baffling me, my brother and I on our other show all the time, Hank Johnson. Oh my God, have you seen this guy?
No, I have not.
I just encourage you to look into Representative Hank Johnson, Congressman. Okay. There is absolutely no reason this guy keeps getting reelected. I'm just gonna leave that there. Just look into him.
I'll take a look at him.
I guarantee it's gonna be gold. Down. It's gonna be amazing content for your shows. You're gonna love it. I'm gonna say that he takes the cake. That's all I'm gonna say, and that's saying a lot, right?
Well, you got to ask yourself. Lori Lightfoot was probably the worst mayor of Chicago in history, and they turn around now they got Brandon Johnson. How do you do that?
How do you top? Yeah, how do you top that?
You see clip after clip after clip of him in a city council meeting with his people, going like, "You're despicable. This is what you're doing." Blah 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 blah. And then when they come to want to, elect a mayor, they elect somebody even worse than what they got rid of.
I don't even know what the thought process is behind the voters when they looked at that situation.
Yeah. I mean,
serious?
I don't get it.
That's the whole hold my beer suit, right?
Get it all.
We're not going to. All right, sir. Do you want to wrap this up? I think we've had some time. We're recording on a Sunday, so I got football to watch. Throw some stuff on the grill. You know how it goes.
My fantasy football team is totally tanked.
Hey, what was your team, by the way?
My team is the left coast Burners.
The Burners?
Yeah,
Left Coast Burners.
I'm in John Chimigo's Boomer Bunkers fantasy league, but my team is the Niners. I'm a Niner fan.
You're in
I've been a Niner fan forever. So we'll see what happens today. I thoroughly think after Atlanta's showing the last game that they had, they're going to kick freaking San Francisco's ass today.
The problem with Frisco, man, I know we're not a sports show, but I'm a Niner fan. The problem with the 49ers is, how do we start the year with all of our starters getting hurt?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
It's been that turnstile for 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, it has.
And it's just.
So are we gonna start questioning the conditioning coaches yet?
I think so.
The dietitians. I mean, something's not working.
You've got 300-pound guys that are running around doing what world-class sprinters used to do decades ago.
Absolutely. No, you're right.
So I mean, you've got that aspect. Inertia and kinetic energy actually work. And
you're correct, but come on, how many other teams have this big of a percentage of their starters hurt and on the bench?
You'd be surprised, man. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of starters that are hurt. And it's just unfortunate that San Francisco just bears the brunt of all of that. And like I said, probably the conditioning coach. And even with the schedule that we had, we had the weakest schedule out of everybody. And I just believe, I hope that Kittle coming back today is going to make a difference.
I hope so. I hope so too.
Yeah,
I hope that does make a difference.
Yeah, because I had the other tight end on my team, and they just seemed to forget about him the last couple of weeks. And not that it made any difference with my fantasy league, but it did.
Well, we can only hope. Hey, at least we have that. So we can take a break from politics and watch football. Then we can argue NFL's nothing but politics anyway. But anyway,
and I got to go spend my traditional $300 a week at Costco also today.
Yeah, I hear that, man. All right, Bruce. Thank you so much, man. You have any parting words? Anything you want to say?
How people just go out there and join us on the Weathered View every morning from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. on X Spaces. All you got to do is go down there and follow any one of us that you know there, and that's what we do. That's my morning show. It's a little bit politically, a little bit cultural, a little bit slapstick, and a lot of bit of rudeness, but
yeah, it's a good time.
And then the Weather Report is our Sunday flagship show that me and Ken, my co-host, get together and we talk small business entrepreneurship. We get into a little bit of politics come around midterm time and general election time, but for the most part, if you want to know about entrepreneurialism and stuff like that, then tune into the Weather Report. That's what we do. And I sent you the links for everything, so you can go ahead.
I got everything. Everybody will definitely know where to find you, Bruce. They'll know where to find the Weather Report. They know where to find the Weather View. And what I always do also, and many people already know this on my website, you're going to have your own guest profile in the guest page. So people will be able to find you there and click on you. So, they can read all your information and you'll have all your links attached there as well. Yeah. So definitely. So anyway, thanks for being here. Everybody listen to Bruce, listen to the Weather View on X every morning because it's awesome. And then Weather Report, definitely for, a little bit different take on things, different content. I have nothing more to say.
Fantastic, man. Hey, thanks for having me on, man. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Well, we'll do the other side. We'll have you on my show. So
yeah, we will. And look, it's Sunday, so here's to barbecue and beers, and
there we go.
Drink my heavily whiskey ratioed coffee. And
absolutely. Thank you much. Take care.
All right, buddy. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Devils hide behind redemption. Honesty is a one-way gate to hell.